Oh, that's right. It's Wednesday afternoon. It's hump day. That's right. It's hump day. And we've made it halfway through the week. Hallelujah. And I've got a really great interview for you this afternoon. I've got Joel Barrot Smart here. Barrot Smart. He is, if you've ever had anything to do with the Burton Center, or you probably have come across him. If you've ever been to Comic-Con, you've probably seen him there. If you've been out to the Humane Society, you may have seen him there. And he's an all-around great guy. And
Don't forget Miracle League.
And I happen to know that he also, weren't you a dancer?
Oh, stop. You're just digging way in my dirty past.
No, that was a good thing I heard. That was a good thing.
Years ago, I was I did a lot of modeling work. And the modeling agency that I worked with, I used to have hair, like big, long
beautiful
Bolton,
hair.
Yeah, Michael Bolton hair looking thing. I don't know. But, and so I did a little bit of modeling work. And some of that modeling work was runway type stuff. We did fashion shows for different things, but oh my God, this is horrible.
Well,
anyway.
Helen just told me that she met you at the dance.
Who's
Helen.
Oh, Helen.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I used to help. Yeah, and she had a dance studio.
Shoals, right?
So, but yeah, I used to like to dance.
So like to dance.
We'll leave it that way.
Yeah.
I used to choreograph stuff for some of the models from the shows that we did, but that was back in the late '80s, early '90s, when I was young and.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, I think that's a great thing. But, I mean, all of these things go to, and in case you didn't know this, for Thanksgiving, in fact, I didn't know this about Joel, he organizes a very nice Thanksgiving dinner for all of those at Burton Center who don't have any place to go. And it is such a blessing, and it is so cool. And, Joel, I just want to commend you for your heart. For the community and for your clients there at Burton Center. It's amazing to see, and it's amazing to see that you are so engaged with people that you work with. I think it's terrific.
Well, I appreciate that. I guess, you reach a certain point in life where, I had a career in the music industry for many, many years, but I needed a purpose. And I didn't know, I know that I'm never going to be one of those people to change the world, but I wanted to know that maybe I could change somebody's world.
Right.
Know? And so I love Burton Center. I love the individuals that we serve, the community that we serve. I love Greenwood. And so, yeah, I just get too passionate and too, my mom fusses at me all the time. Is like, you need to slow down, or you can't help everybody. You can't do everything. But I was like, well, there'll be a day when I'm forced to slow down. But
right.
Right now, I'm move on. But I couldn't do all the things. You talk about the Thanksgiving, meal that came across, a little selfishly at first for me. But then when you got people like John Holloway and other people who step up and support those activities, and the rest of the Greenwood community, the businesses and stuff that donate the food and help out, it grew every year. It just started off with me helping my employment individuals that we'll talk about, a little bit later here. But I had about 10 to 12 individuals in my employment program that worked in the community that didn't have families. And I was like, they don't have anywhere to go on Thanksgiving. So one year I just I got some family members of mine and some other people to donate some covered dishes. And I had my 10 to 12 people. And then the next year it grew a little bit, and then John Holloway saw it on Facebook, and he was like, hey, if you do this next year, you can use my studio. And I was like, well, if we're going to use your studio, I'm going to invite a few more people. And then every year it's grown and grown and grown, and now it's well past my employment individuals, and we encompass Burton Center individuals. And then the Lander students come and volunteer for me, the ones that either foreign exchange students or some of the sports students who don't get to go home for Thanksgiving. They come and volunteer. John Holloway's got some. Anyway.
It's a great thing.
Yeah.
It's a great thing.
It wears me out, but at the end of the day, it was worth it. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think sometimes it's all these little things that we look at and we don't look at, we don't know about. And I wanted to celebrate here the fact that you are engaged in every way possible with your workplace, with Burton Center there. And having interviewed Felton Burton many, many times in the past and knew how passionate Felton was, I think you kind of carry on that passion for the clients.
Felton was amazing in the sense that he could go and do all of the State House, Columbia stuff, the legal stuff, the lawmaker. He knew those kind of people. I'm not that smart. I don't know those people, but I will help.
But he had a passion.
Oh yeah, the passion was absolutely so. Yeah,
and
to
if
do
he
what
didn't have the passion, he would never have been able to do the rest of it.
Absolutely. So absolutely.
And when you just look at where Burton Center was, at where the United Center is, and to moving out there, and I mean, there's just been so many changes over the years.
Yeah.
Miracle League, there's another one that you handle, Miracle League.
I'm the acting board of director. I'm the acting director right now for Greenwood Miracle League. So. But been doing 17 years on the board since we started. Well, the first year I was just a volunteer.
Has it been 17 years?
Andy
Lyle was, Andy Lyle.
Andy started. He was our director.
Right.
The first year I was just a volunteer. I just showed up and said, hey, put me to work. And then they said, hey, do you want to, the next year they were like, do you want to join the board? So I've been on the board ever since. And now I'm the director. So.
And that is such, if you've never been out there just to watch what happens, I mean, it is totally, you just, your heart will just swell up in your chest when you see. And the thing I always like to tell people, because I tell people about this on the radio on a Saturday morning, go out there and see the clients having a great time playing baseball, but look up in the stands and see the parents just being parents.
Just being parents, These kids, you know, I wake up on a Saturday morning and I'm like, I'd rather lay in bed and watch Scooby-Doo in my pajamas and just relax on a Saturday morning or something. But I get up and I go out there. But once the games start and you see these kids run around and you think, if these kids can get out of bed and come and do this in their wheelchairs, on their crutches, or whatever, you know, ability or disability they might have, then I am fortunate to be able to get out of bed and come and do this for them and keep that. So that makes that's what keeps me going.
And it's so professional in a fun way. I mean, you know, you got
we have fun.
We have the.
It's chaotic. It's a organized chaos.
Yes.
It's like,
and they practice so hard to be on those teams, don't they? No, it is a great experience, and we might as well use this as an opportunity. I mean, it'll be coming around when?
October.
Yeah,
we're starting the first Saturday in October, and we'll run through all of October. Every Saturday in October.
And volunteers. I mean, if a group is interested, do you want to go ahead and give a plug for that right now?
Yeah, they can reach me on Facebook if you look under Greenwood Miracle League on Facebook, or you can look up my name, Joel Smart, and then I have a Miracle League page under my name because Facebook is weird and they make you can have a certain. And we didn't want to pay for the page to get our information out, so I had to tag my name to it. But it's Joel Smart, Greenwood Miracle League, so it's easy to find on Facebook. If you have a church, a civic organization, your company, your business, if you and your grandma want to come out and just help us out, we will take all volunteers. So find me on Facebook, shoot me a message, or you can call the Burton Center and just say, hey, I want to speak to Joel, or I want to speak to that guy with the Miracle League, and I'll get your message and I will put you to work.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it takes quite a crew to do this, but it certainly is worthwhile, and it just creates a lot of joy.
Yep.
It does create a lot of joy. So that's Miracle League. That goes on out there. And oh my goodness, do you have anything to do? They've just been working on these greenhouses and all this stuff.
Oh, yeah. That's amazing. I'm not part of that.
Right.
I'm just admiring. Like I said, I can't.
I just saw where they put ramps. They put ramps out there.
They are amazing. So a lot of that is Wendy Owens and some, Helen Phillips is in charge of some of the activities and everything. But we've got an amazing group of people. But yeah, that greenhouse project has been phenomenal. It's teaching the clients how to garden, how to maintain, gives them a purpose, gives them a hobby. And we've had some community members come out and help us put some things together, and then these clients get to sell their flowers and sell their vegetables and sell some of the plants, and that money goes back to them and some to the program itself so that it sustains itself. Yeah. So
and then you have the sensory garden out there and the fishing pond, right? The fishing pond. And of course we couldn't say enough. We also have to mention about the horses out there too.
The Lander Equestrian Center. Yeah, they partner with Burton Center to use the property, and Lander is amazing. Lander's been an amazing partner with Burton Center on so many different programs and projects and helping us out over the years with stuff. But yeah, they run their equestrian program, and they utilize a lot of our Burton Center individuals to help out, do some things out there. But
sure, and they have an the Burton Center. They actually have a Special Olympics equestrian team that has done quite well.
That's
we might
right.
add that. We might add.
That's right. Yeah.
See, I'm pretty much up on everything.
Of course you are.
But that's what I think is so terrific about Burton Center. And I just think a lot of people, they go, oh, yes, Burton Center out there. But they may not know all the cool things that happen out there.
Unfortunately, I think a lot of people know what Burton Center does, that we care for our disabled community. Mm-hmm. But they don't realize how abled our disabled community are. And there's, so many things that they can do, and I'm proud of working and being a part of Burton Center to help these individuals find their potentials, reach their goals, and to turn that disability into an ability.
Absolutely. I mean, they think about things, they may go about it a little bit different, but the end goal is still the end goal, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
It enriches and makes their lives better.
Absolutely. So it certainly is a difference from where it was back in the 50s and 60s, where all they did was warehouse people.
Institutionalized.
Yeah,
they just stayed in a hospital, and that was just it. And they didn't have these, and you can watch movies, there's old, and some people remember, situations like that. A lot of, back in those days, if you had a family member, an aunt, an uncle, a cousin, a brother or sister that had some type of disability or something, chances are they were shunted off to one of these places.
I had a brother.
Yeah.
I had a brother who had Down syndrome.
Yeah.
And you look at Down syndrome, what Down syndrome, I'll say, clients' kids do today.
Yeah.
And I got to know my brother, but I didn't know him till much later in life.
Yeah.
And it is amazing what Down syndrome children, clients are able to do today in today's world.
Yep. As adult, I struggle with that term too. A lot of times I got fussed out, during some of my trainings years ago, because even though these are adults,
right,
and I care for them and I have to work with them and teach them in a way, I had the bad habit of calling them my kids,
right,
and referring to the kids, and then I was told you can't call them kids because they're adults and you got to be respectful and show them, but they're still my kids, they're still my, but they are adults. They are adult individuals, and they're amazing, and so I love what we do.
And even, and some of the things that they get to do, I think, are so amazing. When they have their formal, I got to go to it this last year with the swinging medallions there.
Was that your first time?
That was the first time I've been going to a prom. Yeah. I always missed it.
They got to do better. Oh,
yeah.
Okay. As long as you were invited, I hope. So.
Yeah, but it was a lot of fun. I want to go back again next year, because it was just, if you do it next year, to see them dressed up, what was it, a sneaker prom. They all had fancy
just
sneakers.
To be comfortable. It's hard to dress up in heels or dress shoes and stuff and try to go out. So we were, so Helen, I think, came up with that theme and said, hey, let's just let them wear sneakers and be comfortable. They all still wore their formal
dresses,
outfits and
corsages and oh my God, it was fabulous.
They had their cool sneakers and, Chucks and all the fun shoe wear, footwear that they wanted to get out there and dance. Yep.
Boy, could they dance.
They were dancing, having a good time.
So that's that's just a little bit about the back. That's a very little bit. They're always having programs. I work with Greenwood Performing Arts, and they have the I Can Dance program that teaches classical ballet. In fact, Lisa was here yesterday, and we talked some about that. So, and there's all kinds of programs going on. And since you hired, not you, but since Helen Phillips has come along in there is always something jazzy going on over there.
That girl needs to slow down. She is like a hot cup of coffee that just won't stop. I mean,
she's like a hot cup of coffee that won't cool down.
That won't cool down.
You had that cup of coffee that was hot, and then you go, oh, it's cold. So yeah.
But she will just, she is like a cup of caffeine that just won't stop. But she's amazing and full of ideas and energy, and it's like, Helen, calm down, please.
Then, of course, there's the Christmas parade. We did with the Christmas parade, which is one of my favorite things to work on.
Yeah.
So, anyways, there's a lot of good stuff going on out there at Burton Center. But, Joel, what is the purpose of a Burton Center? Whether it's a Burton Center or the this center or the that center across the state, what is their purpose?
I think overall, everybody, each county is required to have a disability board, and Burton Center is Greenwoods. And then years ago, the state came and said, hey, you're doing a great job, but we've got Abbeville, McCormick, Saluda, Edgefield, all these smaller counties, and they didn't want to spend a bunch of money creating a little Burton Center type place.
Right.
And then they said, hey, what if we incorporate these counties into Burton Center? We'll give them to you, and we'll give you their money if you want to operate for these counties.
So they're like an umbrella.
Yeah. So we have Ware Shoals has a day program. Greenwood has a day program. We have one in Saluda, and then we were asked to take over parts of Lexington. So we have one in KC that we work with, a day program and residential program for Lexington, West Columbia, that area. So, but it's basically to, oh gosh, and I don't want Teresa Midland to fuss at me if I don't say it right. Or, basically my definition is just to enrich their lives, to give them the purpose, give them
experiences.
Somewhere to go so that they can have a purpose and have a reason. It helps out families because sometimes the families, mom and dad are at work. They have, so the individual can't stay home alone. So it gives them a place to go, make some money during the day. We give them a hot lunch. They get to socialize. They get to interact.
I understand the food's really good out there.
So
yeah,
the clients don't complain. Rarely do they complain. Everybody's going to complain about something. But we feed we go through a lot of food. So
right.
they love the food.
Right.
And then we have, like you said, all the social programs, the activities. But then we also have residential programs because there's a lot of times that, depending on the disability that someone might have, the family can't take care of them properly. And so they live in one of our group home or our residential programs, and they get that extra support there. But it just, again, enriches their lives, and they can go home and see their families on the weekends. They can do, but sadly we have some that just don't have families. And the state says, hey, we've got somebody here that needs help. They don't have anybody else, so they become our family. And they come to my Thanksgiving meal,
right.
Those kind of things. So.
And I know they have a residential program that's in Ware Shoals.
Yep, we got a big. Yeah, we got a lot of Ware Shoals houses. We got a lot of residential programs in Ware Shoals. And
are there any in Greenwood? Or?
Oh yeah, tons.
Tons.
Okay.
I always hear about the Ware Shoals ones.
Ware Shoals has got a big program there, but yeah, we've got residential programs here, all in.
Now, what does that do for the clients to be able to live in a residential home situation?
There's so many
like
different
that?
Residential programs that we have. We have some that the individual can live in their own apartment. And our Burton Center staff will come a couple times a week and make sure they have groceries, take them grocery shopping, take them to doctor appointments. Most of the ones that live in that program are also skilled enough that I've went out and found them a job in the community. So they go to work every day. They come home to their own apartment. But the staff will come and make sure their checks are written for bills, that their bills are paid properly. Again, doctor appointments are made, medications are, we just give them, But then at the end of the day, they have their own apartment and they're in their own bedroom. And
there's actually some that have gotten married.
Oh, yeah. That's one of our greatest success stories. So I had a young man that worked in the community. His wife worked in the community. Girlfriend. But they decided years ago they wanted to be married, and their families agreed. They became married. They moved into an apartment. When the apartment was no longer available for a different reason here in Greenwood, they said, well, we don't want to move into a new apartment. We want our own house. And they were a married couple. They both had jobs. So Burton Center said, okay, let's go see what we can do. So we found them a house and taught them how to take care of things. Of course, we had to help them process some things. And they became homeowners.
That's huge.
That's amazing.
That's huge.
Incredible.
That's huge. What jobs do they have? What do they do?
They both retired now.
Oh, okay.
But we had one young lady at FATS, and she
Okay.
worked at FATS for years and years and years, and we know FATS is gone now. And then another one worked at BF Goodrich, and now that's gone as well. So they both decided to retire after
retire.
Yeah.
That's cool.
They were at that point where they could. So that
I
was
remember
great.
seeing stories
Yeah.
about that.
Amazing.
That's
Very,
a win.
very
That's
proud
a
of
real
that.
win.
That's just amazing. Yeah. You can't. Yeah. I think one of the first disabled married couples in the state of South Carolina that became homeowners and everything, and we did that
I
through the
remember
Burton
that story
Center,
was
so,
huge
yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah.
So, so another part of it is, I think I'm going to say it because I don't work for Burton Center, but it is to enrich their lives.
Yeah.
in all different aspects,
as much
whether
as
it's
possible,
the day program, whether it's learning how to do things, whether it's working. I can remember when you had the speech club out there, and they gave speeches and everything. I mean, there's so many things that they do that enriches their lives, and it to me, it's just such a. It seems like a novel concept, but it's not. It's just the right thing to do.
Yeah.
So, you work with employment in helping find jobs. And part of the reason I wanted you to come on is because I know a couple of years ago they changed the law. They changed the law from being able to work piecemeal. And I can remember, I'm just going to go off the rails here a little bit, because I can remember when Felton, Burton, and I would go out there, and Felton would take me back there, and we'd walk back, and they'd come up running to him and say, "When do I get paid? When do I get paid?" And the majority of the people in the back there were all working.
Everybody in that building was working,
and they
except the senior room. The elderly, our elderly individuals, they got to retire basically. They'd watch Price is Right and Wheel of Fortune on TV as they're
just like normal retired people do,
just chilling out. But every other client in that building was working on a project and earning money.
Right.
So yeah.
And so they were earning money, and but then some people came in and said, but they're not earning enough. They're being paid piecemeal.
Let me go back just a little bit. Before that law was passed, a different law was kind of passed. A federal kind of initiative was passed. Not so much a law, but the Employment First initiative. So basically the federal government came around and said, we want to integrate these individuals and get them more out in the community. They want to integrate special needs, and that's what Burton Center's always been phenomenal at. We've been one of the best in the state to make sure that people in the community know that these are special needs individuals, and their neighbors, their coworkers, their church members, so we make sure that they're part of they're not hidden away.
Right. And
our houses, for instance, you were talking about residential programs, the houses, the group homes that we have, the residential homes that we have in our neighborhoods, they're right next door to Mr. and Miss Smith, and Mr. and Miss Johnson on the other side. They're just in neighborhoods, and they become neighbors with people. So if you're out in the yard and you're cutting grass and you look over and you wave at one of our Burton Center clients, because that's your neighbor now. And that was one of our goals. You asked the question, what was some of our, what the purpose that we had. Sure. And it was to integrate these individuals into the community. But that's what the Employment First initiative did a few years ago. They came back and said...
That was a federal initiative. Was that federal?
Yep, federal initiative. The Employment First initiative was they said, find opportunities for them to get them out in the community. Now, Burton Center's been blessed because we have Fuji, we have all these different companies around here, and they bring their work to us. And so our clients we have this big workshop here that they can get in there and do this contract work, and they earn money, they build their skills up, they build their talents, and then they learn. Then I was able to take them again, the ones that learned those skills and worked hard and everything, I could take them out and get them a job in the community based on those skills. So that gives you a little bit of the history of how that part works.
Sure, and that was a lot of fun, and they enjoyed the work. I mean, God, I don't know. I can't remember, but I can remember how many cameras were being taken apart and shucked, and this piece was kept and this piece was thrown, and they had the trucks coming in to pick up, and they filled up these big bins of things and put them on the truck.
I don't know if people in Greenwood realize that, but when Fuji, and they still do right now, Fuji, anywhere in the United States, if you go to a Kmart, or not Kmart anymore, but if you go to a store and buy a disposable camera and take pictures of your niece's wedding or whatever situation that you need, most everybody has cell phones now, but disposable cameras, and you turn that into a Walgreens to get it developed, it ends up here in Greenwood.
Across the whole United States?
Almost everywhere in the United States. They're going to end up here in Greenwood. And so Greenwood reached out to Burton Center and said, hey, we can't process all these and recycle these cameras, so we will pay your individuals to do that for us. So they would ship all those cameras to us, and then our clients would sit there and go through the recycling process. Once we recycled and got everything sorted, we'd ship them back to Fuji so that they could put new batteries, new film, and then repackage those up so that when you use a disposable camera, maybe 2 or 3 people have used it before you, you know. So
that's pretty cool.
Yeah, so.
That is pretty cool. And that shows the ultimate use of labor. But that was a piecemeal. They had to keep up by each how many pieces they did, correct?
So, yeah, you know, when a company hires somebody, everybody is expected to work at a certain rate, you know, at a certain skill level. And if you work for a company and you can't do the work, they terminate you.
Right.
But so with this work, they needed all these cameras done, and we had a plethora of clients who could do this work. Some could do it very fast and do a lot. Others could do it slower.
Right.
And they didn't produce as much. So the law used to be that we had to pay them by their work amount.
How many pieces they did.
Yeah. So we said that Fuji said, well, if we hired a person to do this job at our plant, we would pay them $10 an hour at the time, you know. And then so we would go over there and said, okay, let's see how many cameras can they do for an hour to earn that $10.
Right.
Then we would take that number of cameras, come back, and when Johnny only did 50% of that, then we only had to pay him $5 an hour because he did half of that work. And if somebody did a fourth of that, they got paid. So we broke it down to a piece rate. And then if
that makes sense, right?
Yeah. They get paid for what they could do.
Right.
But it gave them the ability to learn the job and to build their skills up. They were able to start working faster because everybody starts off slow. They're figuring out their job and they're like, well, I don't know how to do this. But the longer they do it, the more they do it, they're going to get quicker. They're going to get better.
How quick are you at it, Joel? I see you turning your
head.
hand.
I know what they're doing, but I couldn't do it nearly half as fast as some of our Burton Center individuals do it. So I'm thankful that I don't have to do it.
Right.
But yeah, they get over there and they do these projects, or you know, this contract work that come in.
Right.
And the clients loved working because a lot of them, because of their disability, they might not understand the concept that, hey, I'm not making $10 an hour, but boy, they got that paycheck, and even if that paycheck said $25 a week, they were super excited. They run around waving that check like it was a flag, and they were just like, look at what I made. I'm going to Walmart this weekend.
Right.
They were so proud of that amount of money. But it also instilled into them, which every American should know, you work hard, you get more money. You work hard, you do what you need to do.
You got to work harder.
You got to do harder. So it was really benefiting these clients. Then it benefited me in the sense that I was able to observe the ones that were working, that could work, follow directions, work hard. And we had some that worked, you know, that matched that $10 an hour rate. And then I'd say, well, you know what? This person is ready for a real job then.
Right.
And so I could start working with them. Then I could take them out into the community and find out what their interests are, what their desires are, what their, you know, abilities are. And then I would go knock on doors at companies around here and be like, hey, you need somebody to do this? Because I got the right person for you. And then they would hire them, become employees, again, integrate them into the community. And then the hole that they left at Burton Center is filled with a new client now. And then that new client's learning and building their skills up. Then I can take that person. So you had a constant
revenue, a constant source of future employees.
Stream of individuals. And so
it was a good training ground.
Exactly. And that's what we do. We train the individuals there. We teach the individuals at the Burton Center, whether it's social skills, whether it's job-related skills, whether it's you know, personal hygiene skills, you know, whatever they need. They're learning different things from us. You know, so they're learning to garden now with the greenhouse. They're learning, you know, all these skills because maybe I could find somebody a job at Lowe's and I could say, hey, my guy over here has been doing this, this, and this at our garden. He would love to come out here and water your plants. You know, I've got a story, one of my favorite employee stories, and he's been on the news. He was in the paper. Fox 21 out of Greenville came into the story with him. But this young man, he lived in Anderson. His mother passed away. His father was remarried and lived here in Greenwood. So he moved to Greenwood, and his father was like, I want him to have his own apartment. So his father set that up and said, but we got to find him a job. But his father found him an apartment in 96. And the business opportunities in 96 are a little bit less.
That's right.
And because he didn't have transportation, it was going to be hard to move him. This young man his disability allows him to, he is a savant when it comes to plants. Plants. He can look at a flower, a plant, and tell you what that plant is, how to feed it, when it's going to die, how long it's going to live.
Oh my gosh, I need to talk to this guy.
He has an encyclopedia in his head that he's just brilliant. And that was his passion. But I'm driving around 96 thinking, what kind of job can I find him? There's restaurants here, there's there. And so one day I saw a lady out and she was watering the plants in front of and so I knew Margie at the time. I don't know if you know Margie.
Margie Blaylock, right?
Margie Blaylock worked in 96. And I called her and I said, hey, Margie, you work in 96. Who does all the landscaping and the cleaning? And she said, she gave me the name of the lady. And she said, but Joel, she's retiring this month. This is her last month working. And I said, so there's going to be a position for somebody to take care of the plants and to clean? They're like, yeah. So I hightailed it straight over there to the town hall, knocked on the mayor's door, introduced myself, gave him the card, explained what I was doing. It was Mike Rowe at the time, the mayor back then. And Mike was like, absolutely, bring him in for an interview. And they hired him. So this young man goes, he cleans the offices up there in the town hall. He goes up and down the streets picking up the trash, but he waters the flowers. He trims the thing. He does. So he is the 96 beautification, maintenance plant person kind of thing. Everybody in town knows him. They love him. He is such a character. But if you ever get him, if you point out a flower, you're going to stand there for 30 minutes as he gives you the spiel about...
Gives you the rundown.
Which flowers are do this and which ones are... I know nothing about my perennials, annuals, blah, 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 whatever. And he's just talking left and right about
but
things.
Doesn't that just warm your heart?
Oh, man, it's my purpose. When I go home and I know that I've changed his life now. His life
and yet it takes a person like you that is out there willing to knock on the doors and not give up. I mean, you could have given up and said, well, there's no jobs over here in 96 for him. Yeah.
And it's a challenge sometimes because of, their disability. Sometimes they can have certain behavior issues or they can have certain communication struggles. And, so every once in a while I still have to go to 96 and correct a problem or redirect him in a certain way to keep his job. But he does good and he still has a job and he is so happy. He is just an amazing young man. So
that is terrific.
Yeah.
Well, I know I have seen some working. Well, I mean, I haven't been there in the last couple of years, but they used to work in Lander in the cafeteria.
Dining hall.
Hall.
Lander, again, has been an amazing partner with us. So we've got quite a few that work in there. Erskine College has several of our individuals working in their dining facilities. And
I used to see some in Walgreens. I don't know. There were Walgreens there still, but Publix. But there's been plenty of places around.
So, and then there, like I said, Greenwood has been amazing to us to give these opportunities. We've had to really kind of go in there and plead and explain and beg. We've had doors shut in our face a lot because some people are just like, no, what if the biggest issue that I get, and I had this recently, a company called and said, we have opportunity and we'd like to discuss with you about bringing somebody in, but what if they get hurt? And I was like, well, what if your regular employee gets hurt? What do you mean? What if they get hurt?
Right.
And they're like, well, they might get hurt and we don't want to be liable. And I was like, no, what are you, and it's hard for me to wrap my head around it because again, I know what our individuals are capable of.
Right.
But I also understand that people who don't, they might look, and their perception of somebody with a disability might be somebody who's stuck in a wheelchair or somebody who can't feed themselves or somebody that can't, it's so limited. But when I explain to them, hey, my guy's got a car, he can drive himself to work, or he knows how to do this, and he knows how to, my success stories are phenomenal with employment, and I'm so proud of what we do at Burton Center for employment.
I think, I think part of it has to be that your passion in making sure that you make the right fit, because I know you and I have talked before about you have to make that right fit.
Yeah, I have people have called and said, hey, I have a position, and if I don't have somebody to fill that position, I'm honest with the company and say, look, thank you for reaching out to us. I don't have anybody right now that's going to fit this position and I don't want to waste your time. I don't want to waste my time. And I'm absolutely not going to set my client up for failure. Because if I say, yeah, Johnny, come on, you can do this, and they're not interested and they get in there and they work 2 weeks and it stresses them out, it might burn them off employment forever. And then it's going to shut the door for the company, so they're never going to... No, he brought us this crazy person. It didn't work out, so we're never going to work with them. So I have to make sure that it's the right fit.
You also work with them when they first go to work, I believe, if I'm
Absolutely.
remember.
If the company allows and
Right.
wants us to. So there's a few times like the young man I mentioned at BF Goodrich. BF Goodrich will only let me go so far in the building. They're like, we'll take it from here. But other times I go to a company and they're like, yeah, roll up your sleeves. We're going to teach you how to do the job so you can teach them how to do the job. And then that way, if they have any issues, they call me real quick and I'm coming over and I was like, remember, Johnny, we got to do it this way, this way, this way. So I used to joke a long time ago that if I ever got fired or lost my job at Burton Center, I'm qualified and trained for 20 other positions here in Greenwood that I could do the job for, you know. But,
Are you still looking for companies? If there's somebody listening, are you still looking for companies?
I'm always open, you know, because again, I never know what type of positions would come open. One of my most recent success stories, and this is in Abbeville, but I had a case manager who contacted me and said, hey, we have a young lady that lives in Calhoun Falls. She's interested in employment. So I met with her. She was struggling trying to decide what she wanted to do. So first part of the process is to take them around the community and introduce them to the community, because you'd be surprised how many people know nothing but Walmart.
Right.
They go to Walmart shopping for groceries, for clothes. And then they might go to Cracker Barrel and eat, or they might go to, you know, so they only know limited things. And then when I start spending time with them and taking them out and said, okay, well, here's a job, here's something, would you be interested in this and this and this? So I do that for a while when I'm first getting to know them. So I had this one young lady, and this was maybe the second time that I was spending time with her, and we were walking around the town square of Abbeville. Mm-hmm. And I was saying, now this is a restaurant here. They serve this kind of food. You could be a dishwasher. You could be wiping tables. You could do, you know, just explaining the different types of jobs. So there's a Deason's flower shop in the downtown Abbeville. The owner is a friend, an acquaintance of mine. And so I was explaining to this young lady, we were standing outside the building, and I was like, this is a flower shop, a gift shop. And so we walked inside, and I said, this is some of the things that they do here. You know, they sell flowers, they make, you know, flower arrangements, they do this. They're probably going to need somebody to water flowers here. I said, they're going to need somebody to maybe sweep and vacuum and clean. And well, Sam, the owner, he came out, and I explained what I was doing. I was like, I have my young lady here. I'm just going to introduce her to the city. We're trying to find out what kind of jobs would be interested and everything. And Sam was like, well, my two employees did not show up today, so if she wants a job, she's got it. And the young lady was like, I would love to work here with flowers. I would love to do this. Sam was like, all right, Joel, bring her back next week and we'll get her started. And he hired her, and she's been there for almost a year now, and she's amazing. So she is absolutely amazing. She washes the window, waters the plants, vacuums, sweeps, clean. She's learning how to answer the phone when they're busy. When they can't, she'll take a message, or she'll, put them on hold or do whatever. And they're actually letting her play with the flowers now and make little arrangements and just kind of, helping.
Doesn't that just make your heart sing?
It has just affected her. It's given her a purpose, and it's given her. And I never would have thought, I'm going to take you to a flower shop. She had no idea that
she wanted to work in a flower shop.
That there would be a flower shop. I don't know if she'd ever even been in a flower shop before. Kind of a thing. So that's part of the process. Just getting to know our community, partnering with the community, finding out what's available.
And that's not something you'd actually think of. If you were thinking about somebody, you would not think, oh, I need to take them around the community, right? And find and introduce them. You'd think, well, we got to find a job. Okay, we're going to go here, here, and here. But doing that extra work, Joel, is huge.
Well, I have to know the client. I can't place somebody on a job site and teach them and work with them and expect them to do good if we're not friends. I have to take them to lunch. We'll buy a milkshake. We'll sit around and talk about what their aspirations and dreams are, what their,
That's the art of a good communication, Joel. Yeah, that really, you are. Yes.
One of the first questions I ask somebody is like, tell me where you don't want to work.
Tell me where you
don't want to work. Because again, I can go out and McDonald's is going to hire somebody, on the spot. But if somebody doesn't, no, I don't want fast food. I don't want to work at McDonald's. I don't want to, I got others that would love to work at McDonald's.
Right.
McDonald's has hired, some of our individuals in the past. But so I have to get to know them, and spending time with them does that. So we will. I'll take them out to eat.
And that's really person intense, though.
Yeah.
When you think about finding a person a job.
Yeah.
That's intense.
Well, the state defines, and again, this is just technical jargon stuff, but the state defines my position working with the client as one-on-one. So that's how we're, it's 1:1. So I have to work one-on-one with somebody to find them the job and to train them and do the things that we can do,
and each one of them is so different, I imagine.
You meet one person with autism, you meet one person with Down syndrome, you meet one person that has a disability, you've met one person with a disability, you've met one person with that autism.
Right.
Everybody is so different. And it's so frustrating to me too, because just when I figured out, hey, this works good for Johnny, I try that with Susie. Doesn't work for Susie, So yeah, you have to adapt and know your client.
Exactly.
And I still call them clients. The state changes that around. They change the terminology around. I love client.
What do they get? What do they suggest?
I think right now, I know for a while it was individual. I think right now we're still on consumer.
Consumer.
They use the term consumer, which
Yeah.
I have a hard time with consumer because they're not consuming, me. But I'm working for them. I'm a client. They're hiring me to help them. Just like a lawyer
coach.
would.
You're
Yeah,
a coach,
I'm
really.
a coach,
Yeah.
a job coach. I'm doing something. So they're my clients. I'm working for them. I'm doing all the work. So I still sneak by and get by using the term client, but the official state term that they ask us to use is consumer. These are our consumers that we provide services for. So.
Wow.
But I like
it's
client.
truly amazing. Well, I want you to know we've had a couple of comments coming in here
okay.
on Facebook Live. Jay Hancock.
I love Jay.
I had Jay on last week.
Jay's amazing.
And he said Joel is such a wonderful advocate for
Oh.
for his people.
Thank you, Jay. I appreciate
right.
that. Jay and we couldn't do what we do without people like Jay, because when he worked with Lander, he was very supportive with us and worked amazing with our clients and the individuals that we serve. So yeah, we need people like Jay in the community that understand and willing to. I don't know if Jay had a history of working with special needs individuals, but he showed so much. Again, compassion, patience, all the things that we hope for when we're placing someone on a job that their coworkers or management team are going to have for these individuals. So, yeah, we love Jay. I love Jay. He's awesome.
Absolutely. Yeah, we had a great conversation talking about the G. Frank Russell Culinary Program.
Yeah.
All the things they're doing over there.
Yeah.
And then Judy Davis said, thank you for enriching and enabling people.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
So I think what we should do is take a quick break and play some commercials so we can stay on the air here and get our sponsor's word in there. We are here with Joel Smart. He is the Employment First Supervisor at Burton Center. So we're going to take a quick break. We'll be back. If you've got a question or a comment, you can post it on Facebook here, or you can also text me at 864-229-7984. You can also leave a message, although I'm not going to get that till after the show. But coming up real soon, we're changing that up. So you stay with us. If you are on Facebook, you are going to hear some music. If you're on the radio, you'll hear some of those great commercials we do. So take it away. We'll be right back. Oh, that's right. We are right back here at WCRS today. My very special guest, Joel Smart. He is an employment first supervisor with the Burton Center. And we've been talking about how the Burton Center, I guess, from what the purpose was, getting people out in the community. In fact, we were just talking off the air how Felton Burton and his wife they said, no, we're not institutionalizing. I was talking about my brother who was institutionalized because that's what you did back in the day. And in fact, my understanding is Connecticut, which is where my brother was one of the first states to do group homes.
Oh,
and they
wow.
looked at that program, and they had gardens, and they were raising food, and they were doing all this stuff. And that gave them the impetus, and maybe that's where that program, the first program, may have come from, because the state looked at it, the Connecticut, the federal government looked at it and said, we should do something like this in the country. But that's what I was told. It was one of the first in the country to have a program like that.
That's amazing.
So, anyways, we are here with Joel. We've been talking about employment. What a one-on-one job that is. It's not just we've got X amount of people here. Let's find them a job, right?
Yeah. And again, I couldn't do what I do before we get into some of the negative aspects of what's happening with some of the stuff that you touched on a little bit earlier. But Greenwood, I'm just so amazed in the support that we get as far as employment. And I definitely want to shout out the Humane Society of Greenwood. I'm passionate about animals, rescuing and helping trying animals. But the Humane Society has hired a couple of my special needs individuals, and it's been a phenomenal partnership. I've grown to know and love the staff over there. Sammy Brooks and her team are just phenomenal people. They inspire me and impress me every day at what they do for Greenwood and for the animals in our community. It's not an easy job what they do, and it's really hard. My job's hard. I get emotional about some of the individuals that we serve, because not everybody's going to be a success. Not everything's going to work out. And I think the Humane Society has some of those same issues with animals and things. They do their best. Some things just always don't,
They don't work out.
Yeah, it doesn't work out, and the community can look negatively and be like, oh, the Humane Society didn't help me this and this. But, anyway, I'm getting off topic. But they have an amazing program over there. They've been amazing to me and Burton Center, and I love them. I love them. But we couldn't do what we do without agencies like the Humane Society, without Lander University, without the companies that willing to work with us and give us these opportunities to get our foot in the door. Because they change lives. They're changing lives. Yeah.
And they're making their and enriching their lives so much. So I have always been impressed, and you're right though. Burton Center could not survive in a vacuum.
Yes.
It needs that partnership. Yes. It needs that collaboration.
Yep.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about, Joel, because I know that this was an effect on Burton Center and their program, was that at some point the state decided that they were going to do away with piecemeal work.
Piece rate work.
Yes. And go with they had to be paid minimum wage.
Yep. So the law was sub-minimum wage. That's what the law was called. We were allowed by law to pay these individuals sub-minimum wage. But again, it was a percentage of what they worked. If they did 50% of the work that a non-disabled person could do, then we were allowed to pay them 50% of that wage. And if they only produced 25% of somebody who could do an hour's worth of work at a certain point. So we did time studies. It was all real technical. So we were being honest. We were being fair. We have time studies over there. We would do the work and said, okay, we can produce this much work in an hour. So Johnny can't produce that much in an hour because of his disability, but he can produce half of that. So we were allowed to pay him half of that amount of money for the amount of work that he did.
Well, it's really actually complicated.
Yeah.
To pay, but again, it's giving opportunity and expanding the workforce.
They were getting a paycheck. They were learning the skills. It's like, hey, the harder I work. And again, the more they work, their skills improved. And they would learning that it would help their muscle memory, it would help their, mobility, it would help their mental state. It gave them a purpose. They loved a job. When we first started talking, you talked about coming to the Burton Center with Felton years ago, and the clients would come up, when do I get paid?
Right.
That was their purpose. Everybody got a paycheck over there. Every week they'd get a paycheck depending on their work. Everybody wants a paycheck. That's all we want as Americans.
That's
we all
right.
want our paycheck.
Because we want to spend money.
Exactly.
And so do they.
And the clients want their paychecks. So when we had some people in Columbia that, again, didn't have the concept of what actually happens in our day programs, in our workshops, in our programs, all they knew was that we were paying these clients.
You were cheating them out of money.
We were cheating them out. We were paying them pennies or nickels or dimes, depending on the work. And they were like, well, how dare they? This is not a Chinese sweatshop, It's like we can't pay them those kind of things. And it wasn't like that at all. It was, but they really...
the unfortunate thing is they actually never came and talked to you, right?
No.
Isn't that the problem here?
That was one of the big problems, that there were a couple of ladies who spearheaded this movement. And the sad part is, it's not, I shouldn't say sad part. These ladies also have disabilities in Columbia, but their disabilities are more physical. So these ladies had doctorates, they had their degrees, they had professional jobs in the community, but because they had these physical disabilities, they wanted to advocate for the disabled community.
Right. Well, you can understand that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, right.
But just because they're able to go to college and get these degrees and get these nice, big, expensive jobs, most of the individuals that we serve don't have, that's not a realistic
goal.
Yeah, it's just not a realistic it's just not going to happen for them. So, but they started a movement, and again, it looks great on paper. Hey, we got to stop these boards from giving them nickels and dimes when everybody else is making minimum wage, $7.25 an hour,
or more, right.
Hopefully more.
Right.
And so they did it. They were successful. And people patted them on the back and cheered them on and everything. So then when this law passed, we had to stop letting them work. Well, we assessed them first to see if they could produce minimum wage work that these companies like Fuji and these other companies that
otherwise the companies can't use your service.
It'd be amazing if the companies come in and say, oh, yeah, we'll pay Johnny $8 an hour to sit there and do 3 cameras an hour, or whatever his, because I want that job.
Right, yeah.
But they couldn't afford it. Fuji was like, we can't afford it. So we had to assess each individual client in the workshop and decide who had the skills and ability to continue working to produce at the level to earn the minimum wage. And we pay them above minimum wage. So all the money that we don't pay anybody minimum wage. Everybody makes well more than minimum wage at the Burton Center now. But the individuals that could not produce, now they had to be put into a different type of a program there, and they do different activities. They do different skills
more of the day program, but they can't work for a paycheck.
They don't earn a paycheck anymore, and they are mad. They are frustrated. I think they're slowly getting used to it, because it's been a while now since this took effect, and since we did this, almost a year now, I'm assuming, I believe.
Let's see, the sub-minimum wage employment first signed May 23rd, 2022. Full phase-out took effect last year, August 1st, 2024.
And we were ahead of that phase-out and everything. But, so it's been well over a year now. So I think most of the clients have gotten used to it and understand that, hey, I'm no longer getting a paycheck. I'm frustrated because what it does for me is that the individuals that could grow and learn and eventually come into my program and work their way up the ladder so that eventually I could take them in the community and find them a job.
Right.
Now they're not getting that opportunity to actually earn a paycheck anymore. Even if it was a small paycheck, they could learn and they could grow from that. So, like I said, we still have the ones that are, so I'm focusing on them. I have to focus on them. But still, it just affects other people. And here's one of the other downfalls. We had some individuals that had such strong ability to work that when we were paying them for the amount of work they did, they made well above what we're paying them now because we're limited to minimum wage this rate that we're giving them this per hour, whereas before they were able to make more, and now they're like, hey, I'm working just as hard. Now I'm not making as much money.
So that's frustrating.
Yeah. It's like, and that's hard for us to explain because they don't understand the laws. They don't understand why we had to do that. They just want their money.
Right.
So yeah, it's not been like I said, it looks great on paper. Mm-hmm. It looks great when people say, yeah, we stopped these workshop type settings from paying people.
Now, a lot of other places
wages.
Don't have, most of it, Burton Center is blessed to be able to still have it on campus there.
Yep.
But a lot of others of these have had to divest and go into businesses, I guess.
Yeah. And that's what we would do too if we didn't have the room and the space, because Fuji comes and looks and says, hey, we could bus our clients, and we did that for a long time. We had some programs with Fuji where we would bus our clients over there each day, and our clients would get off the bus, go inside the Fuji, and do the actual work. But again, for room and space, and Fuji was going through a lot of restructuring and closing down certain things, so they had to, so they were like, yeah, it's easier for us if we just bring you the cameras.
And plus you have the space.
And we have the space. We have plenty of
space over there.
And plus we have our lunchroom. We feed these individuals their hot lunch, and whereas before they'd have to pack a lunch and take with them to Fuji, and which is okay because that's part of the work experience. We all pack our lunch and go to work, or we, things like that. So those kind of things were okay. But it became more convenient for these companies to say, hey, we'll just bring you the work. But the law was designed, and then hopefully that we would take clients out in the community and do those things. And we're still looking for those opportunities.
Ones that are able to go out, but you have enough work so that a larger group can work.
Yes.
Than what you could find jobs out there for too.
Exactly.
And you have, I think, 2 other companies that you work with out there that bring stuff to you.
Yes.
Yes. To that do things. So
there's 2 or 3 other companies along, and not just Fuji, but Fuji's been one of our biggest supporters for years. But and again, that's somebody else's program exec, so I don't have all the names and the details and stuff like that. But yeah, we have several companies that bring work for us and let our clients do those work.
Yeah. So. Do you have any idea how many people you have in your program, in the work program itself, total, whether they're
in our
working
day program?
Well, I was going to say that are working.
Out in the community.
No, okay. How many people are out working in the community?
In
roughly?
my program right now, I've got, and it fluctuates at times because I just had a young man retire this month from retire for 35 years at Lander University.
Oh my gosh.
35 years. And he decided, and he was allowed to come back, but he was like, you know what, I'm tired. He's like, I've done this for 35 years. And
he sounds like a regular person.
Exactly. You would think. 35 years on one job. That's amazing. And he's not the only one.
Today. Yeah.
That's why I'm so proud of our program, because he's not the only one. We've had, and I can say his name, but Danny Hardy is a public fixture here in Greenwood. He worked at Wesley Commons for over 35 years.
Oh, I know who he is. Yeah, tall guy.
Yeah, tall guy and everything. People loved him. He was such a fixture in this community, and he retired after 35 years of working over at Wesley Commons.
Right.
And so that's amazing because, let's be honest, who sticks at one job for 35 years these days?
Well, back in the day, that's what people did. You went to work at a company and you worked your whole life at that company. You retired, you got the gold watch, right? And that was it, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So, now the world is a lot different.
Yeah. But when our special needs individuals, what's so amazing about that, the community that we serve, when I find them a job, it's not their job, it's their career. And I tell that to
that's a very interesting point.
It becomes their career. I tell grocery stores when I go in there, it's like, look, you're going to hire 100 bag boys this year. And after 2 years, they're going to move on to college, or they're going to move on to another job. They're going to get a cooler job somewhere else. They're not going to always. You hire my guy, he's going to be your bag boy for years and years and years, and you're never going to have to replace him until he retires or until he gets, or some other issue. They take these jobs seriously and they love them, and that's why we have such a great retention rate for employment, because once I find them that job, I try to make sure that it is the right job, it's the right fit, but then I'm in there every month, at least every month, if not more, following up with them, checking up on them, making sure you got everything you need. Are you clocking in and out? So many issues. A company will call and be like, hey, Joel, we just got new time clocks, and Johnny's having trouble clocking in and out with the new system. We don't have time to sit here and go over this with him every day. Will you come over here and teach him?
Yeah.
And that's what I do. I'll step over there and I was like, okay, let me see how this works. Okay, Johnny, we're going to do this, this, and this. And I just practice with him and teach him so that way the company doesn't have to worry about Johnny. Johnny doesn't have to stress out about clocking in and out anymore until he's used to it and gets comfortable with it. Whereas a regular, just an average employee is going to, pick up. They might make a mistake or two, but they'll pick up a lot quicker.
Sure.
But my job is to go in and to supplement those changes, those trainings.
Well, and you're the point of contact if there is an issue.
Yeah,
if there
exactly.
is an issue.
Yeah.
We like them calling you.
We want to give that. One of my favorite, I've got a young lady that works at Erskine, and she started off in our day program, and she's one that she was on our committee that we took to Columbia as well for employment, because she started in our day program. She started doing the piece rate work. I watched her skills grew, her abilities grew, her social skills grew.
And her confidence.
Her confidence grew, all these things grew. So I realized, this girl's going to be a great employee. So I talked to her family, we talked to her case manager, we got her in my program. I went out and found her a job. She worked at Lander for a couple of years, started off wiping tables. When she left Lander, she was over the salad bar. She prepped the salad bar, made sure everything was stocked up, made sure everything was prepped up really well. Her family moved over to the Due West area, so she was limited to transportation. And I said, well, you know what? You're just a few minutes down from Erskine. Let me call Erskine. And I called Erskine and I said, I have a young lady. She's got this experience. This is what she did. They hired her. She's been over there now maybe 8 years, I guess. This young lady has learned so much and trained her. She can run every area in the facility. She runs the pizza station. She can run the grill. She can run the salad bar. She can do this. Every day when she comes in, she doesn't know what her job's going to be because she can cover.
And she doesn't stress about it because she has the confidence.
She has the confidence. She knows what she's doing. Now she does get frustrated at times because if Miss Johnston calls out, they say, "Hey, young lady, you're going to take over this station today." And she was like, I'd like to, she wants a little more. But the fact that she can go in there and do it.
Right.
And they love her over there and they trust her and they say, hey, she can do it. We'll let her do it. She is one of my favorites. She is just somebody I'm so incredibly proud of. She's just, but she couldn't have done it if she came to the day program and if I couldn't see her working. If I could not watch her work and build her skills up and watch her grow, she wouldn't be where she's at now. She's a full-time employee.
Full-time.
Full-time. She's
making more than minimum wage,
She's
I'm
making
sure.
more than minimum wage. Her family wants her working. They said, hey, we're not going to let her sit on the couch and just, we want her working. And I said, well, this is going to affect her Social Security check. And it does. But her family said, we're okay with that right now because she's working. And so it's been an amazing, she's, again, one of my pride and joys of the program. But that's how our program works, and that's what we're supposed to be doing. But this new sub-minimum wage reversal that happened, we can't pay them sub-minimum wage anymore. So unless they come in ready to work, and unless they already have those skills and the abilities to do minimum wage work,
the ability to take them through their paces, shall we say, till they can become good.
Yeah.
So there's no workaround for that, Joel? Not really.
Nothing that's worked out for us. Those people in Columbia that passed this law and did all this, they're throwing things at us. Well, why don't you try this? And why don't you do this? And everything, it's like we could try all those kind of things, but
have they ever been to your place to see how it works?
No.
See, that's the thing to me. And I'm gonna get on my high horse now. That is the thing to me, is they needed to come and see and observe and watch the program and see.
They didn't see what we did at Burton Center. They might have went to a place in Columbia, or they might have been to one somewhere in their area and saw what they do. But again, they didn't see what we did, and they didn't look at our success rate and our numbers and our placement out in the community and everything. When I first started, and again, I guess I should, I don't know, I don't like to brag. I don't want to, because I know this is the whole team. But when I first started, I started working at Burton Center in early 2003. We were the 5th at the bottom of the list in the state for employment services.
Wow.
And now we're in the top 5 for employment, some of the things that we do, the people that we place, as many jobs as we have. We're right up there with Greenville, Charleston, Spartanburg, Columbia, just the bigger cities.
Just little old Greenwood.
Just little old Greenwood.
Right here with Burton Center.
And it's because what we do in our employment program and getting these guys out and get them jobs. The biggest issue I'm having right now is running out of clients. I don't have a lot of new we're not getting a lot of new clients in that I have the ability to train. So I'm getting these companies that call and said, hey, we got opportunity here. I'm like, I just don't have a lot to choose from right now, to work with. But we're still working. We're working on some of that, and trying to take care of that. But.
Well, I think it is something that really needs to be looked at. How this is done, and that's part of my reason I wanted to have you on, is because sometimes people in the community, they don't know this, and they don't know the laws, and those unintended consequences of a law can really affect the outcome and the future. And in this case, it's affecting Burton Center. Now, yes, you're dealing with it, but it is a shame because, like you said, you're getting calls and you don't have the clients, Burton Center clients, that could fill the jobs because you can't run them through the system.
Exactly. We can't get them through the program properly to
teach them to
see. Yeah. So those are, again, just the little things when these people were cheering this law on, and again, it looks great on paper. It's like a great law that they're going to tell people, hey, we stopped these. Boy, and it wasn't just Burton Center. Like I said, this was every board and every county in South Carolina had to adhere to this new law.
And there may have been some abuses out there.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, as far we don't know.
It's possible.
But
I can safely say not as much, as, and a lot of the smaller agencies and some of the boards, they didn't even have an employment program up and running. So this didn't affect them the way that it's affected us here in Greenwood, because we've got Fuji, we've got all these companies bringing us this contract work. There might have been some counties that didn't have any contract work, so the clients were sitting around all day, playing games and doing puzzles and just doing whatever their activities and stuff are. So this law didn't affect them, but our individuals were making money and learning work skills, so it has affected us.
Absolutely.
And affected them. So.
Well, Joel, it is always a treasure to sit down. It's been way too long since we've sat down.
I appreciate you so much.
I appreciate you coming out and sharing with us some of the frustrations, but some of the successes that Burton Center has out there.
I can talk for an hour. That's the great thing about, I didn't come in with a script or anything, but I know when you're passionate about something and you know something, I can just talk for hours. I have to be careful what I say, because sometimes I get too passionate and I might let a naughty word slip, or
You've done very well today, Joel. Very well today. I haven't had to mute you at all.
Exactly.
So, well, thank you so much. We've been talking with Joel Barrot Smart of the Burton Center. He is here he's been here. We've been talking about the work program out there. He is the employment first supervisor. If you see some people out there working in the community that have special abilities, you're going to know that Joel had a hand in it. There you go. That is the truth. And he is a great resource. If you're a company and you could use some of his resources, you should at least give him a call. And who knows, he might have a client that would work for the job.
Yeah. I will sit down. I will come visit your job site. You can show me what you want to do. Again, to get on how much time you have left, and one of my favorite stories, a company called and said, hey, what can we do? And I said, what's your biggest hang up? And they said, well, and it was at a doctor's office here in Greenwood. And they're like, well, the people have to get up and shred papers all the time. And they can't get a lot of the work done because they're constantly doing. And so
a paper shredder.
So they said, well, this is HIPAA violation stuff. And I was like, well, I'll bring you somebody who can't read. And so they put boxes on their desk when they had confidential papers they wanted to shred. My guy would come get them, carry them to the shredder, shred them up for them. The staff didn't have to leave their desk. Their productivity increased, created a small little job. And this young man just shredded papers for, they eventually started giving him other duties and other tasks and things like that. But that's what we call job carving. It's a job that doesn't exist, but how can we make your company better if you had one person just taking out your trash? Your other employees don't have to stop what they're doing to take out the trash. So you've increased their productivity by carving out this job for somebody that will enjoy taking out the trash, and feel good about it or making it their career.
Right.
So those kind of things, that's part of the job. My job is to go to a company and say, what are your needs? What can I do to make things better? And how can we help you? So
that's terrific.
yeah.
Well, Joel, thank you so much for coming out today.
Thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure, and I adore you and what you do for our community, so thank you.
Well, thank you. This is WCRS Radio. We've got a Mutual Admiration Society going here this afternoon. I'm Ann Eller, and it has been so much fun having Joel here this afternoon. So I hope you learned something this afternoon. I hope you'll think about the possibilities of what happened when they thought they were doing. This is just another example of a law where people thought they were doing something good, but were they? I'm Ann Eller. This is WCRS Radio. That is going to do it for us. We are going to cue the music, say goodbye, and have a great evening. I will be back in the morning. Take it away. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you.